And now, CCW News presents Holy Crap, This Is Actually Happening! Hey, Look Over Here edition, June 25th, 2023. I'm Chuck U. Farley. The big news this week is that billionaire astronaut Elon Musk and billionaire noodle-armed cyborg Mark Zuckerberg have challenged each other to a cage match over their competing social media sites. Andrew Tate has stepped up to train Musk, yet Vegas odds still favor noodle arms. I swear, I am not making this up. Speaking of bored billionaires, while SpaceX voluntarily exceeds the safety regulations set by NASA, OceanGate Incorporated dives into the great beyond with a fiberglass submarine held together with duct tape and driven by inexperienced diversity hires using a PS2 controller from Radio Shack. Seriously, I'm not making this up. Tragically and predictably, the makeshift craft imploded, instantly killing 2 crew and 3 paid passengers. Even James Cameron knew within hours what had happened and where the sub could be located, but in true Pravda fashion, the mainstream media dragged the story out for 3 more days, mainly in an effort to cover for the malarkey of the Biden crime family. These 5 deaths were all any outlet could focus on, while completely ignoring the literal thousands of deaths in Ukraine, Somalia, and Chicago. In another useless gesture, the House censured TDS sufferer and consummate liar Adam Schiff over his continued compulsive lying about Trump and the fully investigated and debunked Russiagate. Schiff said he sees the censure as a badge of honor and used it as a fundraiser for his Senate run. As Speaker McCarthy gavelled in the decision, Democrats cried out, "Shame, shame, shame," which was an odd choice as they have proven over and over that they have literally no concept of the word. If you felt like all this was bread and circuses, it was. The real big news this week is the total imbalance of the application of law, as Hunter Biden admitted to multiple felonies, but gets a limp-wristed sweetheart slap instead of real justice. Meanwhile, his daddy, the big guy, is also implicated in several felonies, none of which will affect him because this administration is too busy committing election interference and indicting Trump for asking about it. To prove that they do not take our homeland security in any way seriously, the Department of Homeland Security has hired the president of the American Federation of Teachers to a new bloated, overreaching organization dubbed the Homeland Security Academic Partnership Council. Now teachers will have the full militarized backing they have so desperately been pleading for to protect school board meetings from domestic terrorists, otherwise known as parents. It looks like the new Homeland Security branch will have its hands full. In the Hope for Our Future department, students are finally standing up against being forced to worship conflicting religions in their schools. In one middle school, kids who were told that they had to wear rainbow attire and celebrate sexual deviancy chose instead to wear red, white, and blue, or all black, and were caught shouting out that their pronouns were USA. Fearing for their very lives, the administration called an emergency town hall meeting wherein the children were put on the FBI watch list and given the grade terrorist on their permanent records. Now that masking, lockdowns, and experimental DNA recoders have been proven ineffective, the government and big tech, big pharma, but I repeat myself, are no longer hard censoring those asking questions and simply started calling them bullies. After presidential hopeful RFK Jr. appeared on Joe Rogan's broadcast, big pharma simp Dr. Peter Hotez called out for Spotify to censor opinions he didn't like. He asserted that Kennedy was promulgating misinformation about COVID responses and vaccines. Rogan offered him $100,000 to a charity of his choice if Hotez would join RFK Jr. on his show to debate the matter, which Hotez declined. With so-called far-right liberal Christian atheist agnostic doctoral science deniers like Tim Pool, Jordan Peterson, and Elon Musk backing the idea, and upping the kitty into the millions for that charity, the good doctor took to the airwaves to cry about how he's being bullied by all these mean old media moguls asking him to tell the truth for once. He hates charity and has no intention of discussing opposing views, but perhaps he could be persuaded into a cage match? The law offices of Winkin, Blinken, and Nod sent Secretary of State Antony Blinken to try to smooth our relationship with China, so he gave a speech in Beijing in which he definitively told the Chinese Communist Party that Taiwan is up for grabs with the full support of the U.S. government. So stop saber-rattling already. We won't do a thing. We promise. Not even hours later, the cabbage-in-chief drew a formal protest from China after calling President for Life Xi Jinping an out-of-touch dictator. I don't know what they're so upset about, old Joe wheezed. I was just pointing out what we had in common. Bud Lite tried to redeem itself from alienating its main consumer base with an insultingly racist commercial depicting its main consumer base looking clumsy, oafish, and ridiculously dumb. Way to lure them back in, ladies. Speaking of losing your base in the name of celebrating the mentally ill, after promising to bring back honor and decency to the White House, the Biden cabal found it fit to raise their flag front and center above the nation's flag, as invading armies are wont to do, while insane women who voluntarily chopped off their breasts and insane men who got fake breasts implanted literally jiggled their naked surgery-mutilated tops on the nation's front lawn. The most popular president ever called them, quote, the most bravest and inspiring people I've ever known. And I swear I am not making any of this up. Quote, later, the kid-diddling, gay marriage, abortion-supporting, but still totally devout Catholic, he swears, offered a small victory to said Catholics by backing off his mandate that religious institutions must perform and or pay for transgender surgeries. He took it all the way to the Supreme Court, only to let it go at the last minute because, look over here! For CCW News, this has been Holy Crap, This Is Actually Happening. I'm Chuck U. Farley. Good night, and may God help us.